Hello, everybody. It feels so good to be here connecting with you guys. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I had a really good question come in from the comments, and I feel like I could really speak to this question because it's something that I've dealt with a lot. So, I'm going to go ahead and read the question and then just kind of talk freely about what I think. So, the question is from KA. Thank you, KA. Is can you make a video regarding the topic of codependency and saying yes when you really want to say no because you're too afraid of saying no? And maybe some tips on how to overcome the fear of saying no. I am really struggling with this topic. The first thing I really want to say about this is to ask, well, why are you afraid? What do you think is going to happen when you say no? And if you're like me, what your fear is, or what my fear really used to be, was I'm not going to be accepted and I'm not going to be approved of. I'm going to be abandoned and I'm not going to be lovable. I used to think if I don't project what others want to see, if I'm not just agreeable and go along and try to create this false sense of harmony, even if it doesn't feel good to me, if I don't do that, then I'm going to be rejected, shunned, and just that feeling of abandonment. And this ultimately is a feeling of deep lack, of feeling that you are not enough. It comes from feeling that you're incomplete, that you are not a complete life. And it comes from feeling that you need others to feel whole. So you are willing to sacrifice anything, even if it's your own integrity, even if it's what you know is really best for you. You're willing to go to great lengths to make sure others receive you and judge you in a positive light, even if that means saying yes to things you know you should never be saying yes to, even if it goes directly against your own interests. And the big realization here, KA, for me in my life, was realizing that I am enough, that there's no such thing as an incomplete life, that wholeness is found within. And if you can't find happiness and wholeness being alone, you're never going to find happiness in relationship. The relationships in your life will only reflect your sense of lack. So it's kind of just a diluted way to perceive things from the very start. Like if you're not feeling complete in yourself, no one else is going to make you feel complete. That's just an illusion. So first and foremost, it's nice to see that for what it is. That fear is based on a false premise altogether. And then one of the other things I wrote down here is to really love yourself. This is how we get to wholeness. This is how we get to feeling complete, is to just learn to love ourselves. And it starts with just simply, whatever it takes, hugging yourself, looking in the mirror and looking in your eyes and saying, I love you, complimenting yourself. Oftentimes it's hard for someone to love themselves when they have this core belief of I'm not worthy, or a core belief of I'm not good enough. And these are not true, because just by the fact that you exist means you're good enough. If you weren't good enough, if you weren't worthy of love, you wouldn't exist, because everything is love. That's the true nature of life. And you are part of everything. Therefore, your truest nature, your truest form is love. So just by you being means that you are good enough. And it doesn't require other people to tell you that you're good enough, that you're worthy, that you're lovable. You just are. You don't need to search outside of yourself for what's already inside. And to really, I know there's a lot of fear there, and it's one thing to have the realizations, to have the mechanics of how this works, to know that wholeness is found within, and that there's no such thing as an incomplete life, that everyone is a beautiful creation of creator and creation, and that wholeness is found within, and that self, if you can love yourself, it's going to take care of all of these feelings of lack. It's one thing to know those things on a mind level, but it's a completely different thing to embody them, to really feel the truth of them. And the best way, the most effective way to really allow this fear to dissolve is to allow it to come up and be dissolved by your space of being. And here's what I mean. If you're just identified with yourself as your mind, if you just see yourself as your body, if that's all you see yourself as is a body and a mind, you're always going to feel a sense of lack. It's just the inherent nature of the mind and the body, because they're so temporary, they're so fleeting, they degrade over time. It's just the nature of having a body and a mind, that they're going to pass. And that is a very fearful thing if you're just identified with those aspects of yourself, your body and your mind. So what we really need to do, this is the underlying root cause, this is the underlying solution to all of this, all of these feelings of lack and all of these feelings of giving your power away. To really know your own power as an infinite, divine being who's just having a temporary experience in this mind and this body. This mind and this body is just a vessel for your soul to have experiences on this earth, in this evolutionary reality. The number one thing to just solve this for you is to really connect with the space between your thoughts. Connect with this innate spaciousness that is all around you. Connect with this place of no thought, where when you close your eyes and you just let go and you let everything go, you let the fear come up, you let the thoughts run wild, you let the anxiety, the anger, the questions, the deluded thoughts, you just let them all come up, and you are just there witnessing the movement. You're witnessing the movement of the energy, you're witnessing the movement of the emotions, you're witnessing the mind in its dark and light polarities, its fear, its anger, its happiness, its positivity, its negativity. You, as the witness, as the space of awareness, as pure awareness, pure consciousness, you, that is what you truly are. You witness this, and you just keep falling back as the witness. And soon you create more and more space from your thoughts. You create more and more space from your emotional nature. And in this space, you are shining your awareness on everything. And in this space, the fear is getting burned away. The deluded beliefs are being burned away. And you are starting to realize more and more who you truly are, which is not a mind and not a body. You have a mind, you have a body. That's not who you truly are. You are this indestructible spaciousness, indestructible awareness. Your being is unharmable. If you know yourself as this, and you truly connect with this space, this truth that I'm talking about, if you truly connect to this, saying no to somebody ain't gonna be no big deal, man, because it's not gonna touch you. It might touch the mind and the body if you get a negative reaction. Sure, it's not like emotions aren't there anymore, but you know yourself not to be those anymore. You're not identified with that emotional nature or the negative thoughts. You are just the witness of. And you're residing in the place of truth. And you're seeing things for what they really are. And when you connect with this place, it is no longer possible to give your power away to others. Because you know that you are an infinite, all-loving, beautiful creation of the One, of life, of God. And that nobody needs to approve of you or what's best for you. And that you take your guidance from the truth you know yourself to be, and your guidance system is how it makes you feel. If saying yes to somebody when you really want to say no makes you feel like shit and powerless and weak, it's a sign that you're not connected to your deepest truth, to your space of awareness, to your higher self. And the movement is to meditate more, to get present, to allow more, to surrender to the emotions, to allow the fear to come up. Because when you allow that fear to come up, the fear of saying no, when you just say no and you allow the fear and you allow the thing that you're thinking you're so afraid of to happen, you just allow it to happen, and you stay as a space and watch it all happen, you see that things come into a natural harmony, a natural balance. And you don't have to do anything. You just have to watch it and observe it, allow it, and surrender to it. And that's what's really going on here if we want to get into an energetic discussion, is you're just imbalanced in your light nature. Those of us who get imbalanced in our light nature, myself included, oftentimes this is what happens when I tip over and start tripping up, is we cling to the joy, the lightness, the harmony, the peace, the happiness. That's all we want. And we shun and try to push away the darkness and like the anger, especially the fear, the sadness, the grief. We don't want to deal with that. But that's not how this reality works. You see, you need the dark and the light to alchemize, to create something beautiful. You need that perfect balance. So right now you're too in your light nature, so you're feeling meek and powerless, and you're giving away your power, and you're allowing others to control how your inner state is feeling. And what needs to happen is you need to open to the darkness in you. You need to let this anger come up. I guarantee from this question, because I know myself, there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of fear that's been buried in you. And we need to let this anger come up. It doesn't mean you have to act on it and project it on others and express it. You just need to let yourself feel the white hot rage. Because that white hot rage, when you just feel it as this space that I'm talking about, when you let it come up in this spaciousness and you shine your awareness on it, this white hot anger becomes your power. It becomes your fuel for what you know is right for you. And you just inherently know yourself to be this powerful being who does what they need to do. And the last thing I'll leave you with is something I've learned about relationships with others is they're here for you. Relationships aren't around so you can find, a soulmate and you guys will just be together forever and that's the whole purpose of life no. Relationships are here to serve you and your growth. Relationships are here to show you how to love yourself. And they're going to keep giving you a mirror of the ways that you're not loving yourself until you see it for what it is, you connect to something deeper, you surrender to your fears, and you start acting authentically, and you step into your truth. And then that reflection will dissolve. And a new reflection will come in that will reflect your newer inner state, your more evolved inner state, your higher inner state of self-love, authenticity, power. And I mean, I could talk about this forever. This has been one of my biggest hang-ups on the path. So I think I pretty much covered as much as I wanted to cover for now. Just ask yourself, why am I afraid? Start discovering who you are more. Start looking for your authentic self. Start looking for your truth. Start going inward. Because your outer reality is always going to reflect your inner reality. So if you're having a very fearful outer experience, there's a lot of fear in here that's unresolved. And the way to resolve it is to let it come up. So let it come up in your awareness. You have to be willing to face your fear for it to dissolve and for it to transmute and transform. Fear transforms into an excitement for life. Anger transforms into your power. And these are things that if we're giving our power away to others, if we're feeling meek and needy and helpless and powerless, these are two big energies that we've been avoiding feeling and that we've been suppressing. And it's time to just come to terms with the fact that there ain't no way around this. We have to go through it. And it's just a simple truth. We got to go through it. And you don't have to go through it as just the mind and the body. No, you go through it as your higher self, as this infinite being, as this spiritual being who is expansive and unharmable. And just know when you let the fear and the anger up, it's not going to hurt you. You cannot be hurt. It's going to be a cathartic experience. It's going to be a freeing experience. You're going to feel liberated. There's nothing better than stepping in your power and acting the way you know is your truth. There's no better feeling that I've experienced in this reality. There's just not. Because in that way, you're aligned with life. You are acting exactly as life intended for you to act during this creation cycle. And that's a beautiful thing. And guess what? You're going to feel supported beyond measure when you do this. And you'll realize that the approval of others was just smoke and mirrors. It wasn't even real. It was just a reflection of your inner lack. That's all it was. But when you really step into your authenticity, that's when you really begin realizing how life really works and how just by being true to you, that life is a feather bed and that life will support you. It's not easy, but it's well worth it. And I hope this helps. Definitely something I go through a lot, even still. This is something that still keeps coming up for me. It's like one of my cycles, one of my repeating cycles. And the last thing I'll say, have I said that yet? Maybe like the third time, but for real, the last thing I'll say is this. If this relationship if this is a specific person that you're talking about, or just if you're finding this with people, if it becomes something like a power struggle, if it becomes something where you're feeling invisible, if it becomes something where you're feeling unimportant and not supported, then a lot of times it's really healthy to separate from that type of relationship, at least temporarily, so you can come into your own power. It's really hard to do everything I just talked about when we are in these relationships where we feel helpless and unseen and unheard. It's so much better to just let go of those for now, because that's really what life is trying to tell you anyways, is that it's time to let go. And not saying that they won't come back, you never know, but let go, go inward, start feeling this love, start loving yourself. And when you really start loving yourself, you'll be shocked at what comes your way. You don't have to reach and grasp anymore. Things are naturally drawn to you when you're in your truth. Because when you're in your truth, it's so much easier to love yourself. And your truth is that you are worthy, you are good enough, you are beautiful, and you don't need anyone else's approval. It's all within. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to talking to you next time. Namaste. Take care.